comes crashing in and reminds me of the past. And sometimes I hear your name. Sometimes I hear your name. It reminds me of the pain. Well, I guess you read me right, 'cause I am a foolish man. But at least I understand. But at least I understand. And I've learned to live with it. Memories like grains of sand, lying helpless on the beach. But the ones you need so bad, the ones you need so bad, are the ones you cannot reach. trees like grains of sand. Evening, everybody. Evening, Brian.
Evening, everybody.
Dan.
Good
Uh,
evening.
Hector, Casey, Big D, uh, Rick, good to see you. Um,
Mrs. T.
Mrs. T, yes, good to see you as well. Um, I guess after my first panel I had today, I need to speak on a few things because I've had a few things said to me. I don't think people quite understand maybe what the importance of this whole censorship discussion is about. Some people don't like what some people have to say from many different perspectives. And what people need to realize is there's a couple of aspects of this. If we're unable to speak to people reasonably here and have a discussion, how do we have expectations to do that in society?
Therein lies the
The,
problem.
the idea I have here is not to create an echo chamber. Um, there's a lot of things that people say that I dislike myself. Um, but the whole idea behind having freedom of speech is that we all have to realize the commonality is that we do have that freedom, or at least we did, which becoming readily apparent that that's being taken away on several fronts, not just in social media. And that's what I'm here to address. And we have to accept that, freedom of speech is our freedom to be able to speak and for somebody else to be able to speak. It doesn't mean we have to listen. It doesn't mean we have to agree with them. But if we're unable to have a reasonable discussion with people we disagree with, we're no better than the very people who are trying to silence us. And that furthers nobody. That helps nobody. In a discussion I just had with somebody about certain aspects of history where censorship became the norm. It doesn't matter whether you're the prisoner or the prison guard. Sooner or later, censorship's ugly head will come to you. So we need to realize that we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to like what somebody else has to say, nor should we. Now, that doesn't mean that we're supposed to allow certain things in society to become a norm. That's for sure not the case. But it also means that we have to be willing to understand that we're not always going to agree with everybody's opinions or ideologies or beliefs. But the minute we start thinking that ours is the only way and we shut down from having a reasonable discussion, then we all lose, because that gets to what exactly is happening now. Because we have so much infighting between ourselves that our governments or corporations or whoever's pulling the strings at the moment, depending on where you're at, can do whatever the hell they want, silence whoever they want. And we can't have that. And as I said, if we can't handle having discussions even on a social media platform, how do we expect to have reasonable discussions with people in society if we don't agree with them? And trust me, there's a lot I disagree with a lot of people. You know, and I'll leave it at that. It's just some food for thought for people, and I hope they understand where I'm coming from on that. Because the minute we decide that somebody else shouldn't say what they're saying because we don't like it, the only thing we're doing is wishing it upon ourselves, because it will come to our doorstep as well. Okay. Would anybody like to add anything to that?
I
The whole
actually
point.
find
Go ahead,
I
Brian.
actually find it easier to have a discussion with somebody I don't agree with face to face than I do on social media.
I would agree with Brian. Same here. I've had discussions with many people over the last few months regarding various aspects of what I've seen happen in my own family experience, as well as the information that I've found. And when you have somebody who disagrees with you, but isn't abusive, you actually learn about a lot about how people think and what's really going on for people out there on the street who are seemingly walking around as though they're not aware. And there's a lot of fear out there. And you only find it out when you bother to communicate with real people.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so, I guess we all need to self-reflect in ourselves. If we wouldn't want it done ourselves, then we should certainly not wish upon others, um, unless we become the very thing that we oppose. And that's a truism. There's so many cliches that I can name off about that. So, but anyways, if anybody else has anything to say, I'll get this party started.
Let's
Brian?
fire her up. Let's fire her up.
Uh, well, as far as censorship, we're seeing it here with our government internally, where we're dealing with Bill C-11. So, those that are not familiar with how our process works, the House of Commons entered the bill into Bill C-11 into the House. It was voted on. It passed. Then it goes to the Senate. It didn't pass as written, so they made amendments to the bill and voted on that version of it. Sent it back to the House of Commons. So one of the Liberal MPs set a motion. They had a debate, changed what the Liberal government wanted, and then set a motion in that they would no longer debate it. So they censored the opposition from having a debate on the changes they made and sent it back to our Senate for approval. And they were discussing it, and then the Senate passed a motion that they would only have 6 more hours of debate on the bill. So we have basically censorship going on within our House of Commons and the Senate.
So essentially, what they're saying is, you don't talk about it, just pass it.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty familiar in a lot of things that I've seen passed in governments as of the past few years. Sounds really familiar.
Well, in terms of censorship here in New Zealand, um, a certain event happened in Christchurch quite some number of years ago, which actually involved live streaming of that event. which caused big ripples back then. And then when the pandemic started and so-called misinformation and disinformation was being spouted by our said leaders, they used that incident in order to make amendments to a current cyber law, which results in the legalization of shadow banning.
Yep.
And that's how it is here. It's extremely difficult to get information, actual factual information, out of New Zealand. When we were in the throes of our protest here, it was pretty much live streamed 24/7. And there's thousands of hours of live video that has been either gotten and gotten rid of. Nobody can track them, not even the owners or said owners of such material have a lot of this stuff. And it's full of evidences of exactly what happened to during the whole process, which was beautiful, beautiful things that happened and not so good things that happened. All of that's been censored and gotten rid of. And that level of censorship still exists to this day. It's actually getting worse. Because they keep making amendments, just like what Brian was saying. They keep making amendments to existing laws. Censorship is real, guys, and we all know this, right? But
Well,
that's just from the point of view of actual facts.
the thing that I find disturbing, and I do have this pulled up, is your former prime minister is now going to be leading the way for many of these organizations and their recommendations for censorship.
Yeah.
And I know in New Zealand, if you could expand on this,
Yeah.
Dan, there's many things down there that I find absolutely abhorrent.
Yep.
Um,
The reason that she's been offered that particular role was she pretty much was the absolute queen of major censorship. She shut down a whole country on so many different levels so quickly and then kept us in that state for the longest period of time. And when I first came onto panels, I remember talking to Uwe, and he was like, "Oh, this is gone, and that is gone, and this is gone," and I'm like, not here." He's like, "What?" So yeah, I've always jokingly said, "Welcome to New Zealand, a new prison." I wasn't lying. It's really quite like Robert says, abhorrent.
well, and they make
Beautiful.
no bones about as to what level they want to go to. Um, the even to the point to where you're not allowed to speak out against your leaderships.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Exactly.
AMC, you're absolutely correct.
Hmm.
And hello, Gerald. Hello, AMC. And don't mind me if I don't see you in the chat. My eyes are killing me, so I am not looking at the screen all the time. So the thing that disturbs me, there's talk and debate about even right down to the level of conversations that you're having with your own family and friends.
Yep. And
Yeah.
there's in-house self-censorship too. Like many families just don't talk about real issues anymore.
Well, even if you were like, if you were to say, hey, for example, on my last panel where we talked about the Department of Defense and the court case that went on with the whistleblowers.
Hmm.
They had no requirements for efficacy or trials or safety of the magic potion, and that to me was a real eye opener because I had no idea that was going on. I don't think hardly anybody did.
Yeah.
And even now, still into trying to find more information on it is troublesome. I mean, Brian found the original complaint, but we've gotten no more insight from it. And I would think that'd be all over the news.
Yep. I'm still
You know?
digging myself, and I'm like a dog with a bone. I don't give up. So out there, I'll find
Yeah,
it.
there is a place called Pacer, but it's a paid site,
Yep.
Yeah, imagine that.
and yeah, but yeah, it's a it's a yeah. So you need to get a membership into it, and it's a yeah. So they are probably tracking what everybody's downloading.
Oh,
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even today, I'm looking at, for example, Dr. Campbell's what he would call corrections about Freedom of Information Act and information that he was giving at the time period when he did his videos that got magically changed after his videos. Now, and they claim that was a clerical error or mistake or something like that. So either we have incompetent people in government or we have liars. It really makes no difference which they are.
Yeah, and those numbers weren't just off by one or two; they were off by, shall we
Factors,
say,
Mm.
magnitude, yes.
thousand? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they were right off. They were way
And
off.
were they really off? That's
Exactly.
the real question. Were they really off? Or are they? It seems quite odd that certain places that revise their stuff no longer statistically fall into the same as the rest of the country, which, you know, it could be true for sure. It's possible. Probable, not really. I just do find it quite ironic and a little disturbing that they would send a letter to the person who requested through the Freedom of Information Act that would be revised after the fact just because it was made public. Now, does that make it anything nefarious? Well, maybe not. Um, does it make me question it? Oh, absolutely. Uh, you'd be a fool not to. Um, and you know, to expand on what Dan was saying, what his former prime minister was like, um, they took censorship to a whole new level over there. You know, stuff that most of us weren't even aware of. And, you know, that's the person that's going to be leading the charge for this stuff.
I'd be very worried. Extremely worried. She is extremely efficient. Um, very, very good at conversations with the public. Um, Anybody without any real critical thinking skills, they'll look at her and think, "Oh, she's so lovely." Well, yeah, watch out. Is all I will say. Um, I'd just like to address something quickly. Martha, my son is permanently damaged. That's not going to change, but he is doing well considering his condition. Thank you for asking.
And just so everybody wondering who we're talking about, the uh, the article itself that I'm speaking of is this one right here where it says United Nations, Harvard, Facebook, Google launch push for censorship worldwide. Um, and the United Nations is training people worldwide to demand censorship by social media platforms of their fellow citizens for potentially harmful content. At least one U.S. government funded group, the Atlantic Council, is involved. Well, yeah. Well, we already know from the Twitter files and what Matt Taibbi released that it isn't just them that are involved, for sure. And I would suspect that they have their fingers throughout many different things. And here's a thing I'm going to address right now, which kind of is a quandary for many people, holding, doing content creation or holding panels or discussions like this. Do I, or am I going to be able to post these links to these sources now through YouTube with their new policy changes? Because of the vagaries of the way they define stuff. Do they consider this contradictory of the so-called experts? Is this misinformation? Does it cause egregious harm?
I was just going to mention that, because I was awake when the first panel was up, and hearing that if they're going to potentially ping people for sharing links in a chat, I was just thinking I was about to drop some links that were pertinent to what I was just talking about, and then now I'm thinking, oh, maybe not.
Well, and there lies another thing when it comes to free speech. The freedom to share information, to me, is akin to the same thing as free speech. If I'm not allowed to share those links or to even share them with friends or people whom I think would find it interesting or informative.
So, do I share the link to this page or not?
Well, that's a question. Go right ahead, Brian. I'll be the guinea pig. I'm not afraid, dude.
Okay, I'll drop another link that I think is pertinent too, particularly to New Zealand. So here we go, guys.
So all of these things are testament to the problems that we have when it comes to censorship, and in the case of YouTube, the vagary, and that policy was changed kind of unbeknownst to us and behind the scenes. And Andy, I don't know if you're still online. If you are, oh, damn it. I will send you a link that you may want to use or utilize, and you're more than welcome aboard, guy. So this is something that everybody who is, for YouTube's aspect, a content creator, when they say that they're going to start censoring links, does that mean links in chat? It sounded that way. Are they going to pinch the creators, or are they going to go and pinch the actual poster? I don't know. Are you going to get a warning, say, hey, we can't have naughty links? Or things like that. The ideas that we're supposed to know what is and what isn't, which is crazy in upon itself. To not be able to share information we find to be pertinent it is insane. If we're not able to take and talk and speak about the things that are important to us, whether someone agrees with it or not, That's not cool. So those are things that everybody should be thinking about, no matter what side of the fence they're on. All right, you take care, Martha. I'll throw it in for you, Andy, right now. I will warn people I am limiting who I will allow on panel and who I will not. Not because I have a disregard for people, but just to cover my own rear end. Unfortunately, that's what we are relegated to now on YouTube, it seems. And there's many channel creators who are, actually removing moderators, and it's unfortunate that reaction has to happen. But they don't know if it's going to cause them problems in their own channel. Even though it may seem as a norm that we used to do, hey, we can't talk about this, but here's a link, go out and read this, see what you think. It seems to be, it's very possibly we're not allowed to do that any longer. I don't know. It's pretty vague, in my opinion.
And that's a huge red flag, like a big ginormous red flag.
For sure. Welcome aboard, Andy.
Hello, Robert, Brian,
Welcome,
Dan.
Andy.
Good to see you all.
You too, buddy. You too.
Likewise.
We're going to have to get you hooked up on a different one for a inside group of this panel, not the old group.
On what?
On Telegram.
Okay, I'm not on Telegram, but just we can set it up.
Yeah, it's pretty simple and quite useful, actually. Similar to Line, but yet not Line.
Okay. No, my phone blew up, so I lost everything on it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I've had that happen too. I still not recovered everything that I had. So, anyways, this here, and I don't know, did you post this out, Brian, or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, and then now I'm going to, and by the way, this woman's name, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, let me see, what the heck was her name? Jacinda Ardern.
Yep.
Okay. So, we probably want to keep eyes open for that type of stuff, just to give you an
Jacinda Ardern was one of the poster childs for the WEF, and this is a well-known fact. It's
The female Justin Trudeau.
Yep.
sure.
Yeah, it's a well-known fact that's been publicised. She actually stands on that quite proudly. She's done so both in your country, Robert, as well as everywhere else. So this is no misinformation or disinformation. Just a disclaimer right there. It's a point of fact.
Yes, sir.
Robert, do you remember those videos you and I watched from British Parliament, where the guy basically was alone in Parliament?
Yep.
They kicked him out of Parliament today.
You're kidding me.
No, I saw a quick blurb on it. I think it was on Twitter.
Wow. Amazing. You talk about censorship in Parliament, Brian.
I missed that. What was that, Andy?
That guy that was on, what was that, Robert, 6 months ago?
Yeah, give or take, yes.
Just discussing the open facts on vaccination and its effects on the British population. And basically, he was the only one in Parliament. They all basically left. And he was presenting it to the few members of Parliament that were there. And I saw today that they booted him from Parliament.
Unfriggin' real.
I'm trying to find a clip on it if I can.
Yeah, I have his channel saved, but it'd take me forever to find it at the moment. Considering I can't half see shit at the moment. But there you go. There's testament to you speak the truth against the powers that be, and there you go. Yeah, Cindy, you're very correct. They're definitely shuffling the decks. It
And Brian,
Yes.
what do you think of our federal strike when all these people that are on strike are getting full pay? How does that work?
I was under the assumption that they're being paid by the union.
Apparently, they're receiving full federal pay till at least May 10th.
Wow, that's awful nice.
Something's dirty there. You go on strike, your pay stops immediately.
It's supposed to. There's supposed to be. From what I read, there was only supposed to be like a $75 a day payment from the union if you showed up and picketed.
Yeah, strike pay. Yeah.
Strike pay. So everybody's wondering why the public isn't rallying around the strike.
Well, they want a $17,000 a year education bonus. They want to be able to work from home. The rest of the world doesn't have this kind of luxury, people.
Well, just the fact that we're supposed to endorse them getting more taxes from us to pay for their salaries.
Yes.
Their luxury part of it. Where were they in February of 2022 when Ottawa was going on? Oops. Did I get lost here?
No. You're there. Where were they when people were losing their jobs over mandates that still have lost their jobs?
Yeah. Where were they supporting the fight against mandates and all those things we can't say?
Exactly. A very similar thing happened here, and I suspect it happened everywhere else as well. We expected various individuals and various groups to be standing up because it really mattered and it actually had a national impact, and they didn't. And like what?
Well, and therein lies the thing.
There's the first article, Robert. If you want to put that headline up.
Sure. No kidding. Wow. And he was the only one speaking up at that point in time. But there are others now, I think, speaking up.
I just thought I'd bring that up because you and I have discussed what he said a few times, and
Yeah.
I just caught the article today. Didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely pertinent and very much a testament to censorship. I mean, not only ourselves or what we're doing, our very own representatives. I wonder what their reasoning was for expelling him.
I didn't read the article.
Yeah. I'll have to get you to send me that link because I want to take a look at that.
I'll just post it in the regular chat.
All right, that's fine. I would be very interested to know what he had been censored or what he had been, removed for. All things considered, with the big push now, it seems to be on censorship. What was his big no-no? What did he do that was so offensive to warrant that? But it sure explains some of the things we see go on, though, didn't it?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Again, big red flag, big red flag, big
Oh yeah,
red
for
flag.
sure. Well, it's like when I talk to some people about this, and they say, "Well, there's nothing I can do, or it's not affecting me, or anything like that." I says, "Well, when is the time that you decide to speak up when you're being loaded up on the train? Is that when you speak up? Is that when you
Uh,
decide that it's worthy to say something?"
it's too late by that time.
Yeah. Well,
People,
I'm hoping
people,
it's not already too late.
I am
people
too,
need,
Andy. I am too. I
pe-
am too.
people need to be screaming from the rooftops, but not in a wacko type way. We all
Well,
need
that's
to stand up and start doing real things in the real world. Speaking to people, sharing with people again. People do start talking to you when you start talking to them about real things. Yes, you're going to get some people who walk away. That's going to happen. But you do get some that go, hey, you got a point.
well, and some of them may just not be aware of of many of this stuff.
Mm,
They live their lives. They don't see anything outside of mainstream media. Maybe they're not even, well, we know not many people have a clue about these panels where we have these discussions or anything like that. We know that for a fact.
mhm. And
Um,
to that point too, we have to be clear and concise about how we say things because let's face it, as human beings, how we look, what our images, and how we put things across into the world matters. Because I have had discussions with people who have come into this community, into channels, and sat there and listened and gone, no, fuck this, I'm out. They're wackos.
yep.
And we've lost people that way by the hundreds, I would suspect, maybe even by the thousands.
Well, let's face it. There's some people you're just not going to get through to or come to a reasonable, um, shall we say, agreement. That's why it's pertinent that we always try to base everything we say on what we can deem to be truthful. It's not to say that things can't happen where they may not be true, but at least we can try our hardest to make sure that they are.
Yeah,
Um, it, it it's a skill I think we've lost in society by fault of social media, to where
exactly.
people have a hard time talking to each other. Where these panels, on the other hand, are a little different. We can talk to people for sure. But how you doing, Carrie? Good to see you. It it isn't real. It isn't real like face to face, discussions with people. And with like Bill C-11 going on there in Canada, and we have the Restrict Act here in the United States. And I've mentioned this before. And by the way, everybody, this is kind of a repeat to this morning's because I do 2 different time zones. So bear with me. You're going to hear a lot of the same things. But that's just because I want to be able to also have panels that can be, you know, uh, America centralized, where people are around and listening, and European or Australian centralized, because it affects us all. I don't believe any one country at this point in time is an island unto itself.
Definitely not. We all live on the same ball. So
Yeah, for
whatever
sure.
happens on any part of the ball is going to have a roll-on effect, or pun intended, on everyone else.
Like I said to Robert many a time, we're very close together with nothing but an imaginary line between us
Absolutely.
and radically different political situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. In times past, if this would have been 50 years ago, I could have drove to his doorstep and we'd sit and have a beer in an evening. Um,
Ex- exactly, Rick. But it's even more than that. It's okay to be wrong, but we've been so programmed that we're not allowed to actually be wrong. And being wrong is a great thing because you learn. And that's the reason why that narrative is being pushed so much. If you convince people that it's wrong to even be wrong, you never learn. You stunt people's education and ability to critically think. And look at the world now.
yeah, and
People don't critically think.
if people are convinced that the only thing they want to listen to is what they want to believe or what they deem is their truth, then we've lost it as well.
Mm.
Um, that creates an echo chamber, and that does us no good, and it's still going to keep us divided. The one thing that we have to understand, the common denominator between us all is the freedom of speech, is the freedom of discussion, and the freedom to disagree. Um, and we don't have to do that in a combative way, but unfortunately, it seems like nowadays that's the norm. Um, as I said, there's many things I disagree with people about, but I can't allow that to make me shut off the world and stop listening. As much as I can't make me shut off to the world and stop speaking. Because if I'm going to
Robert,
wish upon another,
Ro-
I'm wishing upon myself.
Robert disagrees with me every 5 seconds. It's okay.
Yeah, but you're a special kind there, Dan, and we know it, and we take that into consideration.
Lovely. I feel accepted. Thank you very much.
the
Robert and I have been bitching at each other for a year.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and then some.
That's why you lose all your subscribers.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, truthfully, if we were bitching each other, I think we'd have more subscribers. To tell you the truth, Andy.
Yeah, there's certain other people that are on now that seem to have lots of people listening to them bitch and rant all day.
Which is something I try to not have here or alleviate, which I've become much more, um, shall we say, intolerant of. Um, and I think you're going to like some of the changes that are coming in the future here, Andy. I really do. It's going to be more focused on the actual choosing content versus, say, people's ability just to jump up and rant about anything they want to rant about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just isn't. It isn't conducive, you know. So,
Have you guys watched Redacted the last couple of days?
Yeah, I have. I have.
Anything you want to discuss there or no?
Well, by all means, you're up here, Andy. Throw it out there if there's something you'd like to talk about. I'd like to keep it under the topic of censorship because I do have other topics coming up.
Well, I'm not going to bring up anything that they discussed in Redacted because I've been watching it on there, so I won't bring too much up.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Um, and if it's something that I need to hold a panel about, by all means, suggest it. I'm of the mind now that if I'm going to be struck down or strike down, truthfully, that's by definition, then so be it. Um, it's not going to make me stop talking about the things that I feel need to be talked about. We need to have these discussions. And unfortunately, until we figure out what this whole link thing is now. Does that mean they're going to stop people from posting the Rumble links? Does that mean they're going to stop being able to post links to independent journalists or independent news stations or anything they deem that doesn't follow the
Yeah,
authoritative narrative or the authoritative consensus?
exactly.
Um,
And when does it apply? Does it only apply in comments to videos, or does it apply across the board? It's that vagueness that is causing a problem that YouTube tends to do when they change the policy. It's we got to feel our way around and find out through people getting pinged, and then we work stuff out. Then we find another way around things, and the game continues. And it's not a game. This is very real.
yeah, Raven King, I don't have a solution at the moment. I'm hoping it doesn't have to come to that we have to find an alternative solution. Um, maybe we will. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge once I know exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, as I said, the vagary of things leaves a lot of open possibilities to interpretation. Um, and it's unfortunate. Yeah, you're correct, Misty. It's probably the only way we will find out, and that may not be consistent. I found even my own stuff with my last one that I just got here recently to be inconsistent with past things. Um, which how do you, as and I hate to say use this term content creator because I don't create content. I just discuss pertinent issues of the world. Um, and try to inform people as much as I can about things that maybe they don't know about. Um, well, but see, here's the problem with that kind of stuff, Case. It creates a echo chamber. It's like here, I've been gaining people whom I've never seen before, and I don't know how they found my channel. Um, it's unfortunate that at this point in time, this is still the best medium to get people who are not in our circles of people. Um, albeit slowly, but it is happening. Whereas when you go into a closed program, the only way you're getting new people in there are by mouth of other people, and they're already usually of the same like mind. Well, that creates an echo chamber, and that's the last thing we need at the moment.
Here's a funny one for you, Robert.
So true, Andy. So true. It's a shame because the ideas that we had going on at the beginning of all this stuff, a couple years ago with the protests and uh, you know going on across the world, and protests that in many places are still going on. Um, what if that's deemed not compliant to share? Um, it it is it's unfortunate that we're in that position now that we have to have this, but I do believe that's because of the general public's apathy and indifference to what the government's doing. They have expectations that other people are going to do it for them, and we all know that never ends well. Um, So there isn't going to be any one answer. Um, so I guess we'll see what the future brings. I'm hoping with YouTube that it doesn't become what I suspect it may. And then again, I hope a lot of these things trying to other places that I know that Dan already has in his country that is very restrictive about speaking out about things. Or in the UK, I know there's certain things that you just can't say online or in the public, and you will literally be jailed for it. Things that we take for granted in my country. That's a shame. But I do know if we don't speak up, that's where we're headed.
On that note, if I ever disappear, you know what's happened. And I'm actually not joking about that.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I was going to say that, is funny in one way, but in others, it's a very sobering reality.
Well, last time it took a cyclone to get rid of you.
Well, it didn't truly, though, Andy.
Yeah, he fought his way back, yeah.
He managed to dig himself back out of the hole and paint his face back up and go back into cannibalism. So,
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get rid of a cockroach. There you go.
but like in Dan's case, and other places, in many other aspects, because it's not ubiquitous or homogenous across the board in other countries. Like when Uwe was on earlier, there's laws there that he could speak out and say something about his government. They can literally come arrest him for it. That shouldn't even be a possibility. I mean, it's like it reminds me of some East Asian countries where you can't speak out about their leadership because they'll literally put you in prison for it. Literally.
What do you think they did in Canada? These people are still locked up.
Yeah. Well, same thing here with the J6 people. Same thing. Now they're trying to bury a lot of things about a certain particular person. Shall we say Ray Ray? Anybody heard of Ray Ray? And I'll say that tongue in cheek, but I think most people who have been paying attention know what I'm speaking of. And you see all these news stations coming out trying to, bury that or, basically say, well, that's not true. That's not this. It's not that. Well, it's very readily apparent they got the dickhead right on video. How do you argue with that? Well, obviously, they don't need to because people say, I guess the song "Don't Believe Your Lying Eyes" is true now. So what do? Do we allow that to continue or do we speak up? And I'll say this again, like an old sorry record: call your representatives, call your senators, call your politicians.
Even talk to your community service groups, because they're all usually reputable people within the community. And if you're attached to any community service groups, start having reasonable, non-wacky conversations with them. It goes places that way. Even if it only goes through one person, it's moving.
And continue to do so, Casey. The more people that rattle their cages, the more it's going to get their attention because they're as susceptible to influences as anybody else. They want to keep their jobs or they want to keep other things or if you had 1,000 people call on something, maybe they'll ignore it. If they had 10,000, maybe they'll think about it. 100,000, they'll think a little harder. At 1 million, If 1 million people were calling into our governments every day, I guarantee you, we would get their attention. Just by the mere fact to understand that the numbers, if things were to go sideways, aren't going to bode well for you. History proves that. But we're not going to get it by being silent or being afraid. Everybody says, aren't you afraid of getting another strike? Well, yeah, kind of. I wouldn't be cool about it. Because I don't believe anything I'm speaking of or talking about is outside the bounds of normal human conversation that we should be having. And the minute we quit is the minute we give up. And nobody is going to fix this for us. We have to do this ourselves. It has to happen. Yeah, we do, Carrie, but we need to unite under the idea that even if we disagree, there's certain truisms that we have to agree upon. And like us here, that's being our amendments and our rights. And 1 second, folks, I got to answer the wife here.
Everybody yell, hi, Paula.
She won't hear you through the text there, buddy.
Fine.
Well, maybe if you holler loud enough over there, she might hear you from where you're at. You're a little closer now. Her work's a little closer to you than where we live, so maybe you might be able to holler loud enough, Andy. So does anybody else have anything to add at the moment?
No, not really. I think everything's been covered as best as we can. We can only do our best and talk to people. Speak up. Or forever be hindered. Make the choice. Do something.
Yeah, now's the time to speak up before we lose it, or lose our right to speak up.
Yeah, or we're censored out of it. There's a lot of aspects that come into this that can be thought about. But we have to remember, no matter whether we agree upon certain things, the one common thing we have in common should be the belief in free speech, the belief in individual rights. Unfortunately, our governments don't. Oh, and by the way, Carrie, I did get to watch that video from Aruba Dive Girl. That was hilarious, guy. That was definitely worth the watch for sure. So I guess at this point, unless Brian, do you have anything to
add? No, I'm just gonna put in the chat a list of all our a link to the contacts for all our Canadian senators, as their phone number and email. So I'm just going to put that in the chat. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible.
Would you hold my hand, Brian?
Run, Brian, run!
Guess not. He's not saying anything.
I wasn't going to touch that one either.
Well, in that case, I guess, is there anything you'd like to add, Andy?
No, I'm good.
insights?
You going to hang on for 2 minutes after you log
Yes,
off?
yes, I am.
Okay.
I would like everybody to stay after I do shut down. So I guess, folks, stay vigilant and speak up. And I don't mean scream and yell at people. I mean call our politicians. I mean rattle their cages. If they're out in public, ask them questions. Make them answer. If they won't answer, make them look like fools. You know, good to see you too, Arnie.
Yeah, good to
So
see you.
it that's about the only thing I can say. And as far as YouTube goes, I guess we'll see what the future brings. You know, last week I didn't feel I was in any danger of getting pinched. I thought we had gotten past a lot of this stuff, but it seems that's not the case.
I think they changed it again, Robert.
Oh, they sure did.
Oh, yes,
They most
definitely
certainly
did.
did. It's right in their own terms of service now that they're going to start censoring links, and I don't know what the repercussions of those going to be, even in chats. So that's just crazy. And on that note, folks, I guess if none of the panelists have anything else to say,
Thank you for
and I
being here and
appreciate
listening to the conversation and inputting some of your thoughts. It's always great to see and read and hear the thoughts of many people. Hopefully, we can get more people in here having different discussions.
for sure. And the thing of it is, people, and I'll say this quite frankly, we have to remember that we're all in this together. No matter where we're from, no matter what we believe, we are all in this together. And we have to realize that that's the common denominator we do have to unite behind, whether we agree on other things or not. So those are things we need to keep in mind, folks. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to shut down. Take care. Thank you all for being here. You don't know how much I appreciate that, more so than you'll ever know. And
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
keep hanging in there.
Bye
We're
now.
getting there. And we're out of here in 3, 2, 1. We'll talk to you all later.